There you go.
Right. Hi everybody, welcome to this special guest webinar today, which is all about Hooponopono. And today's webinar is going to be run by the lovely Jane Lewis. And today it's really about learning a technique that's from Hawaii originally, which is called a Hooponopono, which is all about forgiveness. So some of you may know, because you're in the group, that we've been doing a forgiveness challenge. And it was all based around this system, and I'm relatively new to Hooponopono, so I'm really excited about learning more about this today from Jane, because she is an absolute expert. She's been teaching it for 13 years now, and she actually has a PhD in Hooponopono. Oh, is it Huna?
Huna, yeah, well,
Huna, yes.
Spirituality and leadership, but the spirituality bit's Huna.
Okay, so I'm not going to go into great detail about why I got into this. It's just I discovered that forgiveness is a really big thing that you need to learn about. For a long time I suffered from depression, and I spent my time blaming people and blaming myself at situations, and it wasn't until I started learning about forgiveness that I really started to feel a lot better. So that's basically why I'm really excited about learning this spiritual practice today, and I'll let you take over, Jane.
Oh, hang on.
Have you pressed record as well?
Yeah, I think.
Or does it record straight away?
There we go, I think. Sorry about that.
No, it's okay.
Okay, yes, so yeah, it's lovely to be here today. I'm not sure if anybody's yet tuned in, so but we'll be recording it anyway, so everybody will be able to get the recording, which is good. Yeah, I first got in, like you actually, Laura. I got into Huna because I was suffering from depression, and I wanted to find a way out of that. I wanted to find something different, some way of being different. And that led me down the path of Huna. And obviously, once I got into Huna, I started to learn about Hooponopono. I'd never heard of it before I got into Huna. I think it's been made popular now by Joe Vitale, and that's where a lot of people have heard from it. But back then, it wasn't well known. It hadn't been widely publicized. And I mean, one of the things, I was brought up a Christian, or I was brought up in a Christian family. Let's put it that way. And you know, there's the whole Christian thing about forgiveness and turn the other cheek and all this sort of stuff. And growing up, I always thought, well, you know, this is all very well, but how do you do it? Because it's very easy to say, but how do you do it? And I spent a chunk of my life really being quite negative and blaming everybody else for my experience. It was never me. It was always out there. I used to get very, very judgmental. I used to regard half my colleagues and all of my bosses as complete idiots, which, because in terms of getting the best opportunity, wasn't very useful. And it wasn't really until I got into Huna and into Hooponopono that I started to understand that blaming everybody really isn't a great way to be. It's very stressful, and there's a lot of psychological research on how holding on to what they call unforgiveness really, it can really lead to a lot of illness. It can lead to heart disease. It can lead to different kinds of mental problems, including depression, but other problems as well. And it may even be responsible for some cancers. So holding on to that stuff, that not forgiving, there's sound psychological proof of the fact that it is a really, really bad idea from a health and well-being perspective. And in terms of just having inner peace, it's very difficult to have inner peace if you're conflicted and you've got feelings of revenge, or you know, that bitch over there, or that bastard over there, or whatever it happens to be. So Hooponopono is incredibly valuable for clearing that out. And I use it. I don't just use it for people with towards whom I've had some difficulty. I've done a lot of clearing as far as that's concerned, But now I do it every day. I'll do it, especially if I've been teaching, I do it with all the students who attended my teaching function. So yeah, it's very, very powerful.
Brilliant. I can really resonate with that because I mean, I heard about Hooponopono from Joe Vitale, but I didn't really look into it with him. For some reason, it didn't resonate with me. But I did really want to find out more about it, and then I started searching the internet, and I found it really hard to find any really good information about it out there. And then I again heard it through reading a book which is called Lucky Bitch, and it's all about manifesting, and she uses a lot of Hooponopono, but she doesn't really go into the detail of what it is. She just tells you the mantra and to, you know, just the basics of it. So that's why I started using it. But yeah, it's something that I've really wanted to get into, but there is not that much information out there that I can find, really.
Yeah, I mean, I know that my teacher, I've had a couple of different Huna teachers, but my current Huna teacher, Matt James, he's among other things, he's a clinical psychologist, and his clinical psychology research was into Hooponopono, and I think he's got a book on Hooponopono which is out now, but it's that, I mean, this is new stuff. So you're right. There's not a lot about it, and a lot of what you find is Joe Vitale. The Joe Vitale studied with a gentleman called Dr. Hugh Len or Len Hugh, depending which way you put them, and who in turn studied with a lady called Morna Simeona. And Morna Simeona was she went around the world teaching people the Hooponopono, the forgiveness process, and she even taught the United Nations, and she set up this thing called the Foundation of I, which Dr. Hugh Len has taken over. And so Joe Vitale learnt from Hugh Len, and Matt, my teacher, his dad, learnt with Morna Simeona. So you will find that the way that I do it is not exactly the same as Joe Vitale. And that doesn't matter, because in Hawaii there is this saying, think not that all wisdom is in your school. You know, the idea being that there are many paths to the light. So the idea is that it doesn't matter, my path's not righter than your path. The point is we're both on a path. And if you look at Hooponopono more generally, there's several ways that you can do it, in fact, and there are probably as many approaches as there are Hawaiian families. You can do it as we will do it, which is in your head. It's a meditation, really. You can do it face to face, so you actually face to face sit down with the person and do it one to one, or you can do it in groups. So it's like you know, the head of the family will sit the whole family down, and the people who have issues will talk it out, kuka kuka, lovely expression, talk it out, until they're done. And you just stay there until you're done. And if it takes 24 hours, it takes 24 hours. You just keep going until there's nothing more to say. That's the probably the most extreme version. Doing it in your head's much easier because it's all in your mind anyway. So you get to make all the decisions. But obviously, if you're doing it in that community environment, it can be more difficult. And they've used Hooponopono. I met another Hooponopono expert a while back. They use it in prisons for, I think we call it restorative justice. So they use it to have the victim and the perpetrator of the crime to sit down, and they get them to talk to one another. So it's a powerful approach that way. Lots of uses, not just simply doing it in my own head in order to release feelings of revenge or upset or hurt or whatever with another person.
Wow, that is very powerful. So can you give us a bit more information about the actual process? So from what I know is I just know the basic mantra. I know you've given us a little bit more information on the Facebook group, which is brilliant. But can you just talk us through a bit about the background and a bit about how you actually do it?
Okay, so I probably ought to talk. I ought to talk a little bit about the meaning of the word, and I ought to talk about the Hawaiian forgiveness code, which is a little bit different from the way we look at forgiveness in the West. So the meaning of the word pono means, so it's ho'oponopono. Ho'o means to make. We'll put that one. We get that one out of the way because that's easy. If you see ho'o, it just means to make. Pono means calm, centered, balanced, congruent, at one with yourself and the world around you, at one with God. That's pono. When you're absolutely, you're completely in your power, or you're completely in your flow, and you are at one with everything and yourself. That's being pono. And in Polynesian languages, when they double a word, it means doubly so. So pono means really, 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 really calm, centered, balanced, at peace with yourself, and all the rest. So Hooponopono really means to make everything right, as in right, not right and wrong right, but right with the world. So that's what the word really means, and it's become to mean forgiveness. It's another interpretation, because obviously when you forgive, you make everything right. The Hawaiians have this forgiveness code. So they say that there's 3 levels of sin, if you like. The first one is hala, and hala just means it's to make a mistake, to miss the path, to it's an omission or a mistake. It's not absolutely not intentional. No hurts intended. It's one of those things where, oh, I'm so sorry. It kicks off that kind of reaction. So that's hala. Heva is to go overboard, or to do to excess. And heva can be, I do something to excess with another person. So I shout at them to excess, or I do things to excess that make them feel uncomfortable. But it can also be doing to excess to myself. So it includes things like addictions, overdoing the drugs, overdoing anything you might think of that you overdo. Overdoing the chocolate, even if that's a problem for you. So heva is to go overboard, to do to excess, to do too much. And then the third one is ino, and ino is to hurt with intent. So it's where I deliberately do something with the intention of hurting or harming another person. And in the Hawaiian system, all those 3, whether there's intention or no intention, all of them must be forgiven. But the Hawaiians you can forgive, but that doesn't mean that you have to go on having a relationship with the person. You have the option to cut, and you have the option to stay cut. But you've got to do the forgiving bit first before you then make the decision whether you're going to continue the relationship or not. And obviously, in some situations, for instance, it might be in your family, the cutting the cutting of the relationship isn't really an option. Whereas it may be, some friends. I've certainly had friends when I first started getting into Huna, and I was starting to come out of the depression, but I was still doing incredible negativity. And I had a friend who was also, I guess now with hindsight, pretty depressed, but very needy. And it started to grate on me, and I started to become much less accepting of it. And she turned to me one day and she said, you're becoming very hard. And I thought, no, it's not that I'm becoming hard, it's that I've moved on. It's time to change this relationship or end this relationship. One of the two. But it can't continue as it is because I've changed. So you have that option with Hooponopono. It changes the context of the relationship. So you can continue the relationship, but the feeling, the energy around it's changed. Or you can go, okay, I've done my forgiving. I'm off now, thanks very much. So that's what it enables you to do. Now, in terms of the actual process, I'll take folks through the process, but first off, I'll just talk you through the process. So the first thing that you want to do is think about who you want to forgive, who you want to take through the Hooponopono process. And I do this, if I've been teaching, I'll put all my students on the stage at the end of the day and do this. I, at different points, have done it with dead family members, dead friends, and I do it quite regularly with live family members, friends. Sometimes I just put the entire planet on the stage. I just go, okay, everybody who I've ever had a connection with, just on the stage, and we'll do the process. So you can really do it with one, and you can do it with many. And the idea is that you think of the person or people that you want to forgive, and you imagine a little stage way down and beneath you, small, down, sort of far away. And then you think of a healing light coming from source and filling up your entire being, absolutely filling it up so much that it overflows, and it flows out your heart, it flows out your crown chakra, and it's just flowing everywhere. And you let it flow onto the stage, and as it goes, you allow it to heal you up, and as it goes onto the stage, you heal the stage, and you heal, or you let that light heal all the people who are on the stage. So you're healed, the stage is healed, they are all healed. And then when they're all healed and the light is filling the whole space, what you do is you say to them, and this is a slightly different mantra than the one that Joe Vitale uses and that I think you've learned. You just say, I forgive you, please forgive me. And that's it. And there may be something that you need to say, this expression kuka kuka, to talk it out. If there's something that you need to say to the person on the stage, you say it. If there's something that they need to say you, in your mind, that they need to say to you, you let them say it. And then when all's done, you just invite them to leave the stage, and you may see them, sometimes they float away, sometimes they walk away, sometimes they just disappear. And then what you have the option to do, and I really, really recommend this, maybe not if you have small children like a baby or a child under 6. People often say, well, would I do this with my partner? I do. So you can actually cut the energetic cords. So the Hawaiian system believes that we are energetically connected to anybody who either touches us at any point physically, or we touch them, or who thinks of us, or we think of them. And the energy, the connection, the energy of that connection is known as aka. It's known as an aka cord. So what you can do once you've done the Hooponopono process and you've had the stage clear, you can imagine like a laser, you know, one of those cutting laser things. You can imagine a cutting laser coming down and going all the way down everywhere and just cutting all the cords. And you can gather up the cords and allow them to be cut, but just going all over you, cutting any linkages from any chakra. And then the energy is cut. You'll remake the energy any time you touch that person, think of that person. But what you're doing is you're remaking the energy, you're remaking the relationship in a new context. So all the old stuff is history, really history, and gone. Mm-hmm. And you're making the relationship in a new context.
Wonderful. So, what would you suggest if you find it hard to visualize? Because I know sometimes I find it hard to visualize. So would you suggest doing something before you actually do this process, maybe to relax, or is there a best way? Because sometimes I find it hard to actually visualize energy light, and then I can get quite frustrated. So would you recommend anything that would help with that?
I think there's a couple of things you can do. Mm-hmm. One is one is breathe. I mean, just breathe. And if you have a preferred breathing way, breathe in your preferred way. The Hawaiian way is they have what they call ha breathing, which is brilliant, very relaxing and calming and grounding. And basically with ha breathing, you breathe in through your nose and out through your mouth. And the nose breath, the in-breath, is half as long as the out-breath. So it looks like this. And because in Hawaii you're never very far from the sea, the out-breath always connects you back to the sea, because it sounds like that long wave, you know. So,
yeah, it does.
So doing that for a couple of minutes, even for three breaths. Three is the number of starting in Hawaiian. So do that for 3 breaths or for a couple of minutes. That will help relax you. The other way is, for some people, visualization can be done kinesthetically. So you do it with a feeling. You don't see the stage, you feel the stage. You don't see the light, you feel the light. You don't see the people necessarily, you just feel, you know that they're there. You can also do it with sound, so you can hear the stage. I used to have real problems with visualization, so I do it all kinesthetically. I'm better now, so I tend to do it visually. But you can do it with sound. And imagine the sound of the stage perhaps appearing, the sound of the people coming onto the stage. Maybe you might even hear them talking, hear their words, hear your words to them. Hear the light, you know, what if light has sound for you. So you can create this representation using whatever senses work best for you. And if visual isn't the one that works best for you, then use something else. The other thing is, don't get too hung up on it. I mean, it's all going on in here anyway. It's not real. It's all in here. So you can have it any way you want. It's a Western thing. We get really hung up on it. I've got to have it absolutely right. Well, just do the best you can.
Yeah.
It's the intention that matters.
Okay. Brilliant, because sometimes I feel like, is it working? Because I don't feel like I'm doing it right, so I'm thinking, oh, it's not going to work, sort of thing. And I guess that can then sort of make it feel like it hasn't worked, because I'm thinking that it's not worked. So
the question then is, afterwards, do you feel like it's worked? Because it's almost like a fear thing, a fear of failure thing that we run. We stop ourselves. I do this in meditation from time to time. I think, oh, I'm not. My mind is too busy, and then I start going off into, oh, my mind's so not busy. It's too busy. I can't meditate. Therefore, it's not. And this conversation sets up, and all it is, oh, what it's really about for me anyway is, oh, I might be doing it wrong.
Yeah. And
so what if I'm doing it wrong? It's better if I'm, it's the result, it's the intention. That's actually what matters. And if I'm not doing exactly in the way that I was shown, well, if I'm getting the results and I've got the intention, that's so much of the battle.
Yeah. So I guess what it might be good to do before you start the process is to sort of maybe rate how you feel about that person or that situation before, and then afterwards you can see how you feel afterwards instead of getting hung up on. Because for me, I am quite good at visualization, but I think because I go from one thing to another, like my mind is so fast that I go from one picture to another. I can never keep my visualization still. So that's what I have trouble with. So I guess if we more think about how we felt before and then judge it like what you do on EFT, see how you feel afterwards, and then that can be how we would know if we've done it, well, not right, but whether it's working for us.
Yeah. I mean, that's such a great point. I guess because I've been doing it so long, I forget,
Yeah.
forget that one. Partly assume it will work. That helps. Act as if. And as you say, if if you're doing it with one person, think about that person beforehand. Think how you feel. Do it, and then think about that person. Okay, and how do I feel about them now? Another test is if you have people who are energetically sensitive. If you do somebody who's energetically sensitive, very often you'll just finish cutting the cords and the phone will ring, and they'll go, "Haven't heard from you for a while. I'm feeling disconnected." Or that's a real classic one. The phone ringing, or they're you talk to them a bit later. Oh, it's really funny. I was thinking of you the other day, and you realise that the time when they were thinking of you was actually when you were doing Hooponopono with them.
That's really strange. Cool. So another question I've got actually is, because I've been doing this for a few months now. I'm a newbie. I actually find that I'll do it on somebody, and then a couple of days later it all comes back. I mean, is that normal? Because I think it's with the people that have really hurt me in the past, and I think I've forgiven them, and then all these emotions come back up again, and I'm like, oh, I thought I'd forgiven them. Maybe it's not worked.
I think there's a couple of things there. One is I know that you haven't been doing the cord cutting.
No, I haven't.
And I think you'll find, sorry, my nose is itching. I think you'll find when you do the cord cutting, that makes a huge difference. Second thing is that sometimes wounds are old and they go back a long way, and they go back very deep. So sometimes it's worth doing work to clear out anger, sadness, fear, guilt, and those kinds of emotions that you might have, because it's then it just makes the Hooponopono process easier. And certainly I've had times, usually in the past, when a relationship has ended, where I've had to do Hooponopono quite a few times before it finally stuck. So yes, there are times when you need to repeat it, and there are times when you perhaps need to do slightly deeper work. I mean, there's a whole Hawaiian healing set of processes which are they work at a cellular level, and it's bringing in the higher self to release those old emotions, things that you hold literally in your cellular memory, in your tissue memory. And sometimes, you have to do that. Ho'opono isn't always enough. But the idea behind Ho'oponopono in the mind is that when we change our thoughts, because we're connected, the moment you change what's going on in here, you will change your experience of what's going on outside you. So the moment you change your thinking about somebody, your experience of that somebody will change. I've had that so many times happen that I thought, well, I'll do Ho'oponopono, but I'm not sure it's going to make any difference.
Yeah.
And then I've met the person that I've done the Ho'oponopono with or on, depending however you describe it, and I'm like, wow, they're a different person. And they're not, but I've changed in here.
You see them differently. So what would you suggest then if you do feel quite angry towards a person and you want to do this forgiveness work?
Well, do this first.
Yeah.
Because you never know, and if it works, celebrate.
Yeah.
If it doesn't, then be aware of that the more you do it, the better it gets, the easier it gets. Because I think for a lot of people, what tends to happen is they hear about Ho'oponopono, and they put the most difficult relationship they have out there and do that as the first thing. Well, that makes it more difficult. Start with the easy ones. Start with the people with whom you have little or nothing to heal up. Work with them first.
Yeah.
And build up to the bigger ones. I mean, when I do group live trainings, which I've got one at the end of the month in London, I take people through a Hooponopono process, and we choose different groups of people. So we start with parents and might do grandparents and so on and so forth. We work through different groups so that by the end they've cleared out everybody everybody from their history. But if you're doing it on your own, I think, yeah, start with the easier people. Start with the people with whom you've got less stuff built up. Second thing is, you may have to do it a few times. And if you do become conscious that really there's just this huge anger or huge sadness or negative beliefs, limiting beliefs about your ability to do Hooponopono, your ability to forgive, then you probably need to let those go, especially if you've got a belief that this isn't going to work, or it might work for other people, but it's not going to work for you. Then you need to let that belief go first. And if you are experiencing very intense anger, and you've done Hooponopono a few times and it's still not going away, then you probably do need to do some work on the emotion involved.
Brilliant. So, do you ever use it on yourself?
I don't ever put myself on the stage. We've experimented with all sorts of wonderful things with Hooponopono, and the thing with putting yourself on stage is that you're so connected to yourself that it doesn't really work very well. There are other things that you can do for healing yourself, and putting yourself on the stage, because it's all in here. I mean, you're all one thing in here anyway. And I know that philosophically, everybody on the planet, we're all connected and we are all one. But our experience of the reality of day-to-day living is, I'm me and you're you, and we are different. My experience of day-to-day living is, I can be different versions of me, but I am me. So, but I've certainly put I've put all sorts of things on stage. I've put money on stage. I've done a Hooponopono with money. I've put I put excess weight on stage. I've piled up a load of excess weight and put that on the stage. So I've done it with things like that. You can put pets on stage. Your pet's been particularly irritating. So I just wouldn't. Yeah, I wouldn't put myself on stage. That's all.
Yeah, it's just because I know that sometimes it can be really hard to forgive ourselves, and I know sometimes that we do things that we blame ourselves for, and we can hold on to that. So, do you have anything else that you would do if you wanted to forgive yourself, or would you just try and let it go? I
then use, again, I mean, there are techniques in NLP, there are techniques in CBT, I think. There are techniques, because I don't know CBT as well as NLP, there are techniques like timeline therapy, time empowerment theory, time empowerment therapy. You'll come across various versions of that. And there are techniques within Huna itself. The difference with the Huna one is it uses spirit, brings in spirit, whereas NLP, time empowerment, they're working more with the conscious mind and the unconscious mind. Hypnosis as well. So what I do is I use the Hawaiian one because it's quicker and it's connection to spirit, and I release things like regret, feelings or emotions of regret, shame, guilt, and I release those as emotions rather than in the end. I just find the result is the same. I'm forgiving myself, but I just find that an easier way to do it. Putting myself on stage and having a conversation with myself is weird. And as I say, we've done a lot of experimenting, and we've realised that it isn't the most successful way to do self-forgiveness. Actually, self-forgiveness is looking at things like shame and guilt.
Yeah, I definitely agree. Okay, so did you want to go through the process?
Go through the process?
Yeah.
Why not? Okay. So I suggest doing this closed eyes. You can do it open eye, but I suggest doing it closed eyes.
Okay.
So the first thing to do is just to relax and take some breaths. So let's do a little bit of breathing, the hard breathing in through the nose and out through the mouth. So I'll just breathe, and you can breathe along with me. So out. In. 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 Out. Okay, we'll do 3 more of those. Out. In. Out. In. Out. I've lost count. Is that 3? I think that's 3. How are you doing? How are you feeling? It's quite
really relaxed.
Just relaxed. Okay, so just close your eyes. And anybody who's just listening, just close your eyes and call to mind somebody who you want to forgive. And if you're doing this for the first time, then try it with somebody who's not a major source of irritation in your life. Make it easy for yourself. So call that person to mind. And when you've called that person to mind, I want you to imagine with the power of your senses, whether you see it, hear it, feel it, smell it, taste it, imagine a stage way down in the distance, little stage way off in the distance. And if you can make it down below you and feel yourself floating, that's great, but it doesn't have to be like that. So just imagine this little stage. And then I want you to imagine an infinite source of healing light coming and opening up your crown chakra, and imagine this light coming in, flowing into your body, flooding your body with light, healing light, and let the light go all the way down to your toes, right down to the ends of your tippy toes, all the way through your ankles, your calves, your knees, filling up your legs, filling up your torso, coming right up your torso, all the way up, coming up to your shoulders, filling your arms right down to the fingertips and all the way up your arms, your neck, your head, your face, every single cell in your body filled with gorgeous, glorious healing light. And keep that light filling you up until it's flowing out. It's flowing out of your crown chakra. It's flowing out from your heart. It's coating the outside of you in this gorgeous healing light. And as you coat the outside of you, allow that light to continue to flow and flow to the stage and heal up the stage, and call to mind the person that you want to forgive. Call them to mind, have them go onto the stage, and imagine that light filling them up in just the way as it filled you up, filling them up completely and healing them up completely. And just allow that light to flow and fill the stage and fill them. Fill them all the way up, filling you up with healing light, healing you on the inside and the outside, flowing to the stage, healing the person on the stage, all the way up, all the way down on the inside and the outside, until you and they are completely filled with healing light and are completely healed. And just allow that healing place to open up and enjoy that feeling of being healed. And now what I want to do, in your mind's eye, imagining that stage with the person on it all fully healed up, just say to that person in your mind, I forgive you, and have them say to you, I forgive you too. Or you can do it the other way around. They can say, I forgive you, and then you can say, I forgive you too. Either way is absolutely perfect. And if there's anything else that you need to say to them, or they need to say to you, for the forgiveness to be total, the Hooponopono to be total and complete, say it to them now, and let them say to you whatever they need to say right now. And we'll just take a few minutes, a few moments to let that be done. Kuka kuka, say to them what you need to say, and have them say to you what they need to say, so that the healing can be complete. I forgive you. Please forgive me. And have them forgive you too. And when you're done, just invite them to disappear from the stage, and they may already have disappeared from the stage. That sometimes happens. Either they'll walk off the stage, or they'll float off the stage, or they'll just disappear from the stage. And any of those ways is absolutely perfect. And now what I want you to do, and you don't have to do this, but I do recommend it unless the person on the stage was a small child of yours. Gather up all the aka cords, the cords of connection, the cords that connect you and the person that was on the stage. Gather them all up, bring them all together, and imagine a laser beam or whirling blades or something with a very powerful cutting power coming down from above and coming all the way down and cutting those aka cords and cutting any possible last little lingering connections from any chakra, whether it's the main chakras in your body, whether it's the chakras in your hands or your feet, cutting any little lingering cords all the way around so that you're completely cut and everything has been completely disconnected. And that just takes a moment. Cut. And when you're done, just bring yourself back into the room. And if you want to remake the connection with that person, you can think of them and think about how you feel about them now. And if you don't want to remake the connection with them, you can just leave them be.
Wonderful. Thank you. Yeah, I really enjoyed that.
So it's quick, you know. I mean, sometimes it takes a little longer. Sometimes you have more to say. But really the person that you're forgiving is you.
Mm-hmm.
That's really what you're doing. So you can have as long a conversation with yourself as you like.
Yeah. And I find it fascinating how when you are talking to the person and when they're talking to you, things come up that you might have been ignoring, like things that you're doing to that person that you've probably been ignoring, and then it's like, wow, actually it's not all their fault. Maybe I need to be nicer to them, sort of thing. So I find that it's a really good process to bring stuff up like that, because we can deny things a lot. We can deny our behaviours a lot of the time.
Yeah, certainly can. Yeah, and it's always so much easier to put the blame on somebody else. You know, it's your fault. It's you. It's not me. Nothing to do with me.
Yeah. Yeah. Brilliant.
There's another little piece from the Hawaiian tradition, and actually it's not just Hawaiian. Carl Jung was pretty much on the same track, but the idea that what you experience outside you is very much a reflection of what's going on inside you. So if there is somebody who makes you feel angry, or you know, you see them being rude, or you see them doing something and it really, 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 really winds you up, that is an indication of something that you haven't resolved in yourself. Because, you know, I don't know about you, but I used to I had a mother who did jealousy rather splendidly, and it used to wind me up until I looked at myself and realized that there were plenty of areas of my life where I did jealousy.
Yeah.
And when I healed that up in myself, suddenly my mother's jealous behavior, I still noticed it, I still knew it was jealous behavior, that didn't stop, but my reaction to it changed hugely. And the only thing that was changed was, yeah, the work that I'd done inside. So the same with Hooponopono. How you react to somebody is, yeah, it's very much a reflection of what you've healed in yourself or haven't healed in yourself.
Definitely. I definitely agree with that. And I've noticed it quite a lot and I sometimes have to remind myself, the reason that you're getting so upset with their behaviour is because it's something that you've done in the past, or you've still not sorted out yourself. And then having to bring all compassion into everybody, being compassionate to them and a bit more gentler, because you've done it yourself, haven't you? So it's like, how can we get so mad at people when they're just doing things we do as well?
Yeah, and that thing, I never do that.
Yeah. I know. And then you have people pointing it out when you're doing it, and you're like, oh, oops. Brilliant. Yeah, that's amazing. Thank you so much for that. Is there anything else that you'd like to add?
No, I think that's probably it. Unless you have any questions, or unless.
I'm just going to check the group. We didn't say at the beginning, did we, about questions? If anyone's got any questions, that they can either post them in the chat box here or in the group. I'll just check to see if there's any in the group.
I mean, and there'll be a replay, so
yes,
it may be that people have questions on the replay anyway.
Okay, there's nothing in the group, but if you just want, could you just let us know about how anyone can find out more information about yourself or working with you? And you mentioned you've got a live event. That would be great to find out some information about that.
Yes, I have got a live event, and what I'll do, if it's all right with you, I'll post the registration link in the group.
Definitely.
That's probably the easiest way, is that. Working with me, my website is drjanelewis.com. So you can go on there, and there's a contact us, or you can contact me on Facebook. I am in the group, so you can befriend me and PM me. Those are probably the best way, the easiest ways, because I do one-on-one work. I find this is just so powerful. Not just Hooponopono, but the spiritual healing releases. They're so quick and they're so powerful. And if you want to go through Hooponopono with everybody you've ever connected with, and some more stuff, yes, I've got a live event in London on the 30th and 31st of August.
Brilliant. And is that at the weekend, isn't it?
Yeah.
Yeah. Brilliant. Okay, that's amazing. Thank you. So if we post your details in the group, and then would you be able to post the replay?
Yeah, I'll put the link for the replay as well.
Yeah. Brilliant.
I mean, if people have actually signed up to watch this anyway, they'll get an automatic reminder of the replay. But we'll put the link in as well.
Oh, that's great. Thank you very much. Wow. Well, thank you so much for doing this webinar. It's been absolutely amazing, and I've really enjoyed it.
Oh, it's been a real pleasure, Laura. Thank you so much.
Okay. And I'll talk to you soon.
You will.
See you later.
All
Bye.
right. Okay. Bye.
Bye.